Mhm.
All right, we are live. Let me put this. I always forget to put. There we go. The speaker view. Happy Sunday! It's been a couple weeks since we've done our Sunday live. Gordana, I'm so glad we're back. We're back in action.
Yes, so am I. Happy Sunday, everyone. This is going to be a beautiful Sunday.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to talk about, last Sunday, we talked about energy, and today we're going to talk about the vibration in that energy, which is we're going to talk about emotions and feelings and how we can use our feelings in a beneficial way instead of being used by our feelings. So I think it's going to be a wonderful Sunday topic today.
And coincidentally, the timing, I've had a lot of emotion since last night and the
Yeah.
morning, and there's no accident in timing, and
Mm.
everything is it's truly happening for us. And everyone watching, so if you know my story at all, you know that I grew up very abusive home and just difficult life, and my brother grew up in the same home, and he had a dog for 15 years that had been his best friend. I mean, just an incredible dog, truly, like, kind and always loving. And they had to put him down last night, and oh my gosh, just sad, sad. and
Mm.
i and I've been crying. I was crying with my brother last night and crying this morning. I woke up this morning. It was really interesting. I woke up. My first
Mm.
thought was, why am I sad right now? And I was like, what did
Mm.
I dream about? And then I
Mm.
remembered that he had died last night. So I carried that sadness
Mm.
through my dreams. But what I'm getting this morning, I try not to get emotional right now, but what I'm getting this
Mm.
morning is I don't want a hard heart.
Mm.
I don't want
Yes.
a hard heart. I want a soft heart. I
Mm.
want to truly love people, not be angry at people. And I have
Mm.
a dog that's old. He's 16. He's the half brother to my brother's dog. So they were from
Mm.
same mom, two different dads, but our dogs. And
Mm.
I'm like, did I love him? Was I mean? Do I love people?
Mm.
It's really made me like reflect, like,
Mm.
all we have is this now moment. There's no,
Mm.
oh, I wish I would have done different. It's just now. And
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like grief, which is a really, really tough emotion, it puts stuff in perspective.
Mm,
So that's the, if I can say, positive side of grief. It puts things in perspective. It makes you think, as you say, did I love my dog enough? Was I kind to it? And it reminds you that you need to keep your heart soft,
yes.
courageous, but soft.
Yes.
Because if you harden your heart, then the frequency that you're sending out is going to be a harsh one. And that's not a space where you want to dwell in. So
Good.
that's the beauty of grief, which is, I mean, it's hard to say the beauty of grief, but that is the truth. There is a beauty in this because it literally heightens your senses so that you become aware of the things that you take for granted.
Right.
So you have to become present in the now moment and start reevaluating things. Am I present enough? Am I loving enough? Am I here for the ones that need me enough? That is what this frequency is supposed to do with you. If you stay in it too long, it hardens your heart because it makes you bitter and it makes you angry. But if you use it the way it's supposed to be used, it's supposed to focus you in the now moment and heighten your experience of everything in the now moment because it shows you what is important and what isn't, what is primary and what is secondary.
So good.
Hmm.
Emotions are so, I mean, sadly, many people have, I think, forgotten how to cry, how to feel, how to
Mhm.
grieve, which allows that reflection. Um,
Mm.
but then in that grieving, there's also a really beautiful humbling that I'm
Yes.
experiencing this morning. Just the humility to it all, that life is a strange thing. You can love something so deeply and it gets taken, or you can grow up in an abusive
Mhm.
home wanting love and it's never given. There's all
Mhm.
these storylines and arcs coming through all this reality, and at the end of the day, we're here to play in this realm, and
Mm.
the plane is also the pain and the agony. You were mentioning you watch
Mhm.
my all-time favorite movie, Braveheart, you know, and it's
Mhm.
like, had his wife not died,
Mhm.
Scotland wouldn't have been freed. Well, if you asked his wife in the soul level, would you do this to free your fellow man? I'm sure her soul would say absolutely. But
Mm.
it's all these arcs, and it's all from the soul perspective, the human plane, this 3D realm, the 5D. There's
Mm.
so many things all in the now moment that we could play with.
Mm. Mm.
It all has to do with our emotion.
Yes, absolutely. It has to do with the vibration because, I mean, as we spoke the last Sunday live, we were talking about that everything is energy. So, if everything is energy, then what is the difference between you and me? Well, it is the frequency, it's the information of who you are and who I am. And our emotions, they're like a dial, which we can dial up or dial down the frequency within us. So, understanding how this dial works and how we can use it in order to understand what it is that we're going through. Usually, when we enter something that feels like pain or a negative energy, like grief can feel very much like pain. And if we stay in it, it stagnates and it keeps us in a frequency which will not create the reality that we want. So you might ask, why would we have grief? Why would it be there? Well, it is there for exactly this reason, to understand that the subtleness of this reality, to understand that we need to stay open, that we need to stay vulnerable. It reminds us what is real in this reality. So your sadness of losing Brutus, was his name, the dog's name,
Yeah,
Brutus,
yeah.
you're reminded of the unconditional love that the dog brings.
Yes.
Every dog brings this unconditional love. And if you're not present to that unconditional love, well, life slips through your fingers, and that's how your heart hardens.
Mm.
So when something like that is removed from your reality and you feel the grief from it, you're actually awakened again to the vulnerability and where you're supposed to be every day, to be open to this beautiful frequency of unconditionally loving beings that are in your reality. Usually we don't see them, we take them for granted. And then when they're removed from our reality, that's when we realize that we should have been more present with them. It's the same thing with our children, it's the same thing with our spouses, it's the same thing with ourselves. So this is a reminder of being more present and
Mm.
allowing even feelings that might feel like negative feelings like grief or pain to be there and use them in order to understand the now moment. Pain, I mean, emotional pain here on earth, this is the only place where we can explore that emotional pain. And that is why it is there, because we are supposed to look at it and say, okay, I understand myself better, and then release and let go. It's the stagnation, it's the belief that this is the only reality that makes us stuck in it and that makes this pain unbearable.
Right.
But if you breathe through it, it will come back again. I mean, the grief will come and go like waves, but you can breathe through those waves
Mm.
and move forward and become more vulnerable. And with your heart soft, as you said, you don't want a hard heart, which is such an intelligent thing to say, because that is one of the most important things. We are born with a soft heart, and then it hardens with what the society does to us. And to become aware of it and say, I don't want to have a hard heart, because that is more painful than the grief and the pain that we go through when we go through the negative emotions.
The emotions, and we talked about energy last time, and then emotion is energy in motion, but then the word
Mm-hmm.
energy is inner chi. It's the same word, they just
Mm.
changed the letters, but our inner life force, and what do we do with that life force? And if we
Mm.
think have hard hearts, we stifle it, and
Mm.
we
Exactly. It
Don't
stagnates.
it stagnates. And then
Mm-hmm.
we know what stagnated water does. It breeds bacteria, breeds death. You
Yes.
drink from that living water. There's no living water, as they,
Mm,
that term. There's all these watching John Levy videos. There's all these
mm,
um, springs all over the world
mm-hmm.
with stone, and etched in the stone it says living
Mm-hmm.
water. Like, come,
Yes.
living water. And I'm like,
Mm,
that's water. It's never been stagnated, never been stifled. It's
mm-hmm.
always constantly flowing.
Mm,
And I think with our emotions, and this gets back to vulnerability, it's seen as society, the controllers of this realm, if you want to look at
mm,
it like that, benefit from us having stifled emotions. But
mm,
if we are vulnerable and courageous and
mm,
care not what others think, but care for others, and in our care for
mm-hmm.
others, be that
Mm,
example,
mm,
things start to flow again. And the more people that open up and become vulnerable, and allow their heart
mm,
to feel the sun again,
mm.
you really can't stop that.
Yeah, that is the truth. And it's funny how you brought up water as an analogy for this, because the water needs a specific swirl, like a specific vortex, in order to move in the right frequency. So I think it's the Fibonacci spiral. It has to move in that spiral, the same spiral that flowers use when they seek the sunlight. They turn in a specific way. I think that the water needs that turn, the specific turn, which is the Fibonacci spiral.
Yes.
The Fibonacci spiral is the golden rule of beauty in this reality. So we need to see the beauty behind everything in this reality in order for this energy to take that spiral within us and not stagnate and become some kind of bodily pain or emotional pain in our body. The pain is actually, or the lower frequencies like fear and grief, it is just a reminder that you're actually deviating from your soul source or your true frequency, the frequency that you were born with, the
Mm,
frequency of happiness and joy and understanding and compassion. And when you're deviating from it, meaning that you're starting to believe in an illusion like fear or all the other negative feelings, it is just a reminder that you need to come back to the true frequency that is your frequency.
right.
So let's say that you are in grief, and you have to kind of move back to compassion for yourself, compassion for what it is that you're grieving, compassion for everyone else that is in that same pain, so that you can go back to your natural state of being. Otherwise, you become um, it's not beneficial for you. You create a reality which other people can co-create together with you, and it becomes askew. It doesn't resonate with the true frequency of you.
Right.
So you kind of create more of an illusion instead of a real reality which comes from your source, so to speak. So just recognizing it and understanding that, okay, I'm exploring this here right now, but it will return. This too shall pass. And
Mm,
then you go back into the right frequency so that you don't stay in an illusion.
right. Right. The world right now is in such dissonance.
Fear mode.
Fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such dissonance. There's
Mm,
harmony when we allow that to
mhm,
flow. We can all bring our different notes to this chord, and we
mm,
can play our part to co-create together something beautiful. But when we're in fear, there's
mm,
dissonance, and it's
mm,
stifling. And I think what I would desire more than anything is this movement of, maybe we all need to grieve collectively
mm,
as humanity again, for how far we've come from having soft hearts, open hearts,
mm.
courageous. A soft heart and an open heart, it's a courageous heart.
Yes,
A hard
absolutely.
heart, and just someone that I can tell you that I was
Mhm,
saying this morning, I don't want a hard heart. that's a fearful heart.
Mhm. Yes, because it feels like it needs to protect itself.
Yes.
And that creates a culture of, sorry, that creates a culture of fear, a
Yes.
society of fear. Because as we have said so many times here, we create our reality with our beliefs. Our beliefs are like building blocks in this reality, which means that if you believe that fear is the prevailing frequency and that you need to protect yourself from the outer world, well, then that is the reality that we're creating. And we're creating a society of fear. I don't think anyone with their right mind want to live in a society of fear.
Right.
I was actually thinking about this while watching Poltergeist,
Mm.
another movie which I spent watching this
I love it. That's
Saturday.
great.
And there was this thing where the little boy in the family, he's outside and he's climbing a tree, which is horrifying, this tree. He's really afraid of the tree, but yet he tries to win over this fear by climbing the tree.
Mm.
And as a mother, I looked at this and I was thinking, oh my God, he's all alone and there's concrete under the tree. And if he falls, he will hit himself and harm himself. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, as a child, I could go outside and I could climb trees. There were no one telling me that is dangerous to do, and I'm still alive. So I feel like we have slowly but surely created a reality of fear where children are not outside playing, where children are not climbing in trees and connecting to nature, because we think that they need surveillance all the time. We think that we need to keep them at home. And what is the frequency that we are actually promoting in our homes? What is it that we're teaching our children? We're teaching them that the world outside is a dangerous place and you need protection here, which in the long run creates a society of fear. Well, if you are in fear, then you're either totally in the belief of being weak or you have a hard heart. You do not allow anything to come close to you. Both of these states of mind are not beneficial.
Mm.
These are frequencies that are not working for you. The more fear you allow into your life, the smaller your life becomes. And
Mm.
we are here to explore the greatness of our lives. We have to love life here. And how
Yes.
can you love something that you're afraid of?
Right.
So, of course, we need to watch over our children. Of course, we need to understand that there are dangerous things out there, but at the same time, we need to relax ourselves and
Yes.
send another frequency to our children and say that life is supposed to be explored. It's
Yes.
not supposed to be, lived in fear. Like
Mm.
for me, for instance, as a child, I dodged fear all my life. And I was thinking that every time I dodged fear, that was happiness. Well,
Mm.
that's not happiness.
Right.
Happiness is something you seek out consciously. You say,
Yes.
I want to do this, and then you do it, and that brings you happiness.
Mm.
Dodging fear is an illusion of happiness.
Right.
It's not to be happy. It's not to have an open heart. That is to protect yourself.
Mm.
Protection is not always primary. Safety cannot go before happiness and fearlessness and courage.
Right. It's interesting how emotions, if we don't reclaim our emotional state and if we don't reclaim our power, then there are those who are willing to take that for us, from us.
Have
And
always been and will always be. Yes.
that's right.
Mhm.
And think how powerful emotions are with what this world has become. If
Mm,
in
mm,
fear, you can control
mm.
everyone that's in fear. I
Many.
mean, yeah, many.
Yes.
It's
Mhm,
really amazing. And then the moment someone faces their fear, faces the pain, looks at
mm,
the beast in the eyes and
mhm,
growls back at it and yells back at it,
mm,
there's a power that comes from that that can never be put
mm.
back in a box, ever, ever.
Absolutely. Or walks away from it.
That's right.
And here's the thing. This is why courage is such a powerful thing, because it will always show you who you truly are. You can never be fear. Fear is not who you are. You
Mm.
are love and compassion and understanding and courage.
Yes.
So courage is a really powerful thing. It shows you who you truly are. Now, courage can be so many different things. I'm not talking about jumping off a cliff or starting a war. I'm talking about the small things that you need to do that are courageous. I mean, the small steps you have to take, the small fears that you have to face every single day and daring to do them and staying in that frequency, saying, I'm a courageous being and I can go through this. I will go through the pain because on the other side, I know that there will be no pain.
Right.
So to be courageous doesn't mean that you have to do outstanding things. Courage can mean to stay in a frequency which is your frequency, not a frequency that someone else is telling you to be in, like fear, because
Yes.
they know, I don't want to. That's a courageous thing. And you can do that all alone in your home and say, no, I don't want to do this. This is
Right.
not who I am.
Right.
That's a courageous thing to do, to start with that. I mean, I get a lot of people talking to me about being in emotional pain, and they ask me, how can I free myself from this emotional pain? Emotional pain is always a limitation. A limitation is always created by the ego needs a trigger, and a trigger like fear from the outside, like you need to pay attention so that you will be in safety, there's a danger out there. That is a trigger
Yeah.
for your ego to keep you in this safety mode. And if you're in it for too long, it becomes an emotional pain because it's not who you are. The emotional pain is telling you that you are in a frequency which is so far away from your true frequency. So, what is your true frequency? Well, understanding and compassion for yourself and others, knowing your own truth, understanding who you are, that you are not all the negative feelings out there, that you're actually power incarnated,
Yes.
spirit incarnated, to come back to that knowing. That is a courageous thing to do, to come back to it. It's a tough thing to do all alone, but sometimes we have to do it. And when you do it, you feel that the pain goes away,
Mm.
because it was just a signal, signaling, telling you that there is you believe something that is an illusion. There
Right.
is a belief in an illusion. Now find the illusion, see it for what it is, and you will get back in your true frequency.
Mm.
So it's a question of
Fascinating.
questioning our beliefs. If
Yeah.
we believe in fear, well, then we will live in pain.
Yes. Yes.
And I usually say this, that our love for life has to be greater than our
Fear
fear
of
of
death.
death.
That's right.
It has to be
Always.
greater than that. So seeking this joyous thing, seeking moments where you can feel that you are alive. Usually it's with someone. It's not when you're alone. Maybe you have to seek out people to talk to, be with your dog, go out in nature, look at living things in order to connect to the living frequency within you, because fear is not one of those
Mm.
living frequencies.
It's fascinating right now to bring it even back to the collective.
Mm.
It's those that are choosing life or those that are choosing death in a way, because fear is going to always lead to death. It
Mm.
is a death state. And emotions, when we there's a there's a concept of taking our minds captive, that we're aware of the thoughts that are in our minds, because our
Mm.
minds direct our emotional state. If I think of something
Mhm.
scary, then I feel a fear. If I think of
Mhm.
something beautiful, I feel love. And our minds have been so hijacked by media,
Mhm.
frequencies, foods. I mean, in Europe, you can't buy what they sell us here in the United States. It's banned. All these GMO foods, like, it's
Mhm.
crazy. Kraft has two
Mm.
markets. And when we think, if we ignore this, that it has no effect on us, That's just not true, because we become what we eat. Well, we become what we ingest in our mind as well, in an emotional
Yes.
state. And interestingly, I love this movie that you brought, or I don't know how I probably brought it up, but you said you watched Braveheart. You look at that well-organized British army and the arrogance, and everyone in lockstep, and they all marched the same, and they all looked the same, and they all acted the same. And there was the archers and the cavalry and all these, but then you had just unabashed savages who loved their life and loved their home more than they were willing to submit to this, submit to control, submit to totalitarianism.
Yeah.
And when William Wallace came out on the horse, just talking about the power of emotion, and gives that speech, it's like, I want to be on that side, whether that was my last run into battle or not, rather than to march and be a disposable. But won't it, he says, but won't he, you know, the king calls for archers, and he says, well, won't it kill our men too? And he says, yes, and it will kill theirs. It's like, that's how the system looks at humanity.
Yes.
They don't care.
Yeah. I think that what you're actually, you're touching upon is that when you're trading freedom for safety, that's a slippery slope. You can never trade freedom for safety. You have to trust that the things outside will not be hurtful. You have to trust. There is faith in this. You have to have faith that everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Because if you start trading your freedom away for safety, you're a prisoner.
Yes.
That's the only way I can see it. And this is why Wallace is not willing to trade freedom for safety. There is no way for him to trade freedom for safety, because we are all held in this universe. Understanding that we're all held, that there is, who we truly are cannot be harmed by anything.
Right.
And this is why we cannot trade our freedom here, because what we will create is a prison. And we will create it with our emotions. And this is because a thought is something that exists beyond time and space.
Yes.
And it's outside of us. It's in our minds. And then when we give emotion to that thought, that is the first manifestation in the physical world, because emotion is felt in your body like a vibration. You know exactly how fear feels, because it makes your heart beat faster. Your body goes, it's tense, and you can feel the manifestation of that thought in your body as an emotion. This is why it's so important to understand that a thought has no emotions. You put an emotion to that thought, and becoming very much aware of what emotions you're exploring in your body, because the next step is, when you believe that emotion in your body, it becomes a belief that is then creating a physical reality. You will put locks on your door, or you will not go outside. That becomes a physical manifestation in this world. And the more people that do this, the more of a fearful world we create. So it starts with me. I have to say, okay, wait a minute. What am I exploring in my body right now? Am I feeling fear? What is it that I'm fearing? If it is something that you're anticipating for the future, then know that it isn't true. It is your ego wanting you to project something in the future so that that will be created in this reality. And you can say, no, in this now moment, there is nothing to fear right now. And you can pull that frequency out of your body back into the quantum field, because you're not allowing it to manifest here. It manifests as a belief. That's how it manifests in this reality. So you're the portal between the unmanifested world and the manifested world. And you can say yes and no, because what you believe is what you will perceive in this reality. So asking yourself, why am I believing this? And if it is a projection to the future, then that is fortune telling. You don't know what's going to happen. You
Right.
can pull it back and say, no, in this now moment, that is not what I'm feeling, which means that you're literally changing the future by saying no to it in the now moment, or scrutinizing the thought, or looking at it from different perspectives and say, this might not be true. Why am I afraid of this?
Right.
Talk to someone else who thinks in a different way to shift that frequency, because the first manifestation is the emotion. And that is why we're talking about emotions today, because understanding that it is the first manifestation means that you can stop it at the portal. You can stop it at the doorway. You can say no to it.
Yes.
That is your free will. That is the power that you possess. We're born with this power. We can say no to it.
Right.
No, this is not true for me. And it has to reside back to the quantum field, because
Yes.
there is nothing where it can vibrate its frequency in. If you do not allow your body as the home of that frequency, then there is nowhere else it can go. It has to go back into the quantum field, unmanifested.
Right.
So it's up to us to do that, to use. This is what I mean when I say that we do not allow the emotions to use us. This is how we can use our own emotions. Of course, fear can sometimes be a motivator. It can motivate you to do things that might bring you into the right direction. So not every fear is supposed to be pushed back into the quantum field.
Yeah.
But the fears that are, projections for the future, the worrying, the anticipations, the anxiety, that is something that is not happening in the now moment. It is just the frequency going on, but there is no truth in it, because in the now moment, nothing is happening.
Our attention is so powerful, because our attention goes, they say energy flows, and that's a really beautiful that we would I mean, I grew up, there's all these psychics on TV at night, and you could call in for whatever, and not that any of the Claire giftings are not true or real, but there's all these, we know throughout time, there's these prophets who prophesy of dates and times of destruction, and it's never true, but people give their energy to it and it becomes true for them. And then they're devastated, or they're humiliated, or they retreat back into obscurity after these things don't come to pass that they're projected. Well, we're seeing this on a global scale of projection after projection after projection after projection of what will happen, and none of it's happened. Or it has, maybe in their reality, I don't know, but it's a fascinating, they put the idea out, we hold on to it, give it energy, and it becomes reality.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is what happens if you believe it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why when I look at the news, I'm thinking, why are they telling me what's going to happen? That's not news. That is a prophecy. That is fortune telling. That is not the news, because they're telling me what is going to happen, and no one can know the future. And you know what? The funny thing about fear is that it needs you to exist. It cannot exist if you are not there for it to live in. So you're the transmitter. You're the thing allowing that fear into this. So it cannot be in this world unless you project it. It needs you, and you can say no to it. It says, I mean, you literally can say no, and that is what courage is, to say no, that's not what I want. So that is connected to courage. And as I say, courage will always show you who you truly are, because you are not fear. And the reason you're not fear is because you are not your feelings. You're the one feeling them. You're not your thoughts. You're the one thinking them. You're the one behind all of this. You're the one using all of this to explore a physical reality which is neutral in itself. You give this reality your meaning, or a meaning, with the feelings that you invest in every thought. And I know it sounds simple. It's not as simple in the practical term. We have to wake up every single time and ask ourselves, why am I allowing this fear to fester within me? Where is my mind right now? What am I thinking about? This is why meditation is a good way of releasing all this tension.
Yeah.
But just being aware of it and knowing how this mechanism works, how that you're actually the center of it all. And you are the portal of every emotion that goes into this world. I mean, this is how you can transform a negative thought or a negative experience into a positive one, because it goes through you. I've done it 1,000 times with my son. When I'm agitated, and when he was little, I was agitated, and I start doing things, and then I look at him and I feel the love for him, and it shifts within me. I stop myself, and then we go back, rewind, and restart from a loving perspective. And you can change it every single time within you. It's the same thing with every belief out there. You can change them. I know that society teaches us that there is a real reality outside, and this is what's really happening. Still, there is a perception. You are the observer. There is, in quantum physics, there is nothing unless there is an observer, and you are that observer. So that means that you actually have some kind of power over the outer reality, because you choose what you want to observe, you choose what you believe about that, and you choose what you feel about that too. It's all within you.
And it's such this time for everyone is really our choosing. This is the choosing ground. I think with waking up to either choosing to fully be sovereign in playing with our emotions, understanding our emotions, conquering fear, being courageous, like coming here and basically winning the game. If you look at this realm and reality as a game, or there's those that keep giving in and become not even themselves anymore. They're like, I look, well, where did you go? What? But they talk as if they're there. They're so far gone. And I'm just wondering what you think on where are they going? Where is that perception?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're asking me, actually, where are people who have fallen asleep?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know. It's a question of allowing something else to go through you, the frequency of fear or ego. I think that they're in ego, actually, the people that are asleep into this. I mean, if we succumb to a society where we focus on safety, it becomes a perspective which robs us of our lives, because safety, if you want everyone to live in safety, that means you have to control everything. And if you control everything, if everything works exactly the same everywhere, well, there is no life there, because you're actually describing a machine. A machine works like that. Tick tock, no deviations. Tick tock, like that. But nature doesn't work that way. It doesn't control everything. It allows diversity to be there. And that means that you cannot control everything. There has to be fringes of uncontrolled things, because that is how it evolves, how life evolves. If you look at the yin and yang symbol, there's a white dot in the black and a black dot in the white, which means that there is always something that is uncontrollable in this. And the uncontrollable, the thing that we perceive as chaos, is actually what moves things around, which creates life force. If we want to control everything, if we take safety before everything else, which means that we have to control everything, that means that we're creating a machine. We're not creating a society where we are alive, where diversity is the basis of everything. We're creating something that needs to be controlled because we do not trust it. And it's up to us to say that, no, we're not supposed to control everything. There's supposed to be a mystic place or
Yes.
a mystic aspect of this reality.
Yes.
We're not supposed to know everything, and we're not supposed to control everything,
Mm,
because we're not dealing with machines, we're dealing with human beings.
right.
If you succumb to this and you allow your ego to become your driving force, that creates an insane world, which
Mhm.
works like a clock, but it's insane because there's no life in it.
Yes. And then at the same time, if with all the machinery and the control,
Mm,
it's allowing those to wake up and choose. It's a, we talk
yes,
about,
yes.
it's like it's serving its purpose for us to choose our sovereignty and courage.
Mhm.
And
It's a contrast
it's a
so that we can
contrast.
see. Yes,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. We're supposed to wake up to it. That is what, if you're going to use it in a
Mm,
positive way, is to wake up and say, this is not what I want this instead. That's how a contrast list works. You
yes.
find the things that you don't like, and then you say, so do I want instead? And then you write that on the other side. And that
Mm,
is what it's supposed to be. I do hope that a lot of people wake up from this,
right.
so that they don't live in fear, so that pain is not their everyday experience of this life. I
Mm,
mean, we're all in pain. I wake up in the morning and I have anxiety. I feel like, oh my God, what I'm going to do. But I need to focus myself out of it and remind myself of who I am. And this is
yeah.
what I do on Twitter and all the social media. I want people to remember that, of course, there is pain. Of course, there is fear. Of course, there is danger in this reality. But the
Mhm.
true nature of who we are is love and unconditional understanding of all of this. And that's where the power is. So we don't have to go into all of these, because that is an illusion.
Right.
You are not an illusion. You're the one exploring every illusion, and you can choose which illusion seems most plausible to you.
That's right. That's right.
Why would you choose the one that isn't good for you? I
Right.
think that is where we forget that we actually do have a power in choosing,
Mm,
that the choice is there for us always.
always. Always.
Yes.
The the energy that our energy sometimes can be picked up from another's energy. And
Yes.
when we're not aware of staying true to our own choice of what we're choosing in this reality, and we come into another person's field, we can take on their energy really easily. And that's
Hmm.
why it's also important to choose courage and life and love and freedom and creation and expansion and flow. Because if the minute we're not choosing that and we come into a stagnated, fear-based, ego-based control
Mm.
machinery and we weren't aware, it's very
Mm.
easily to get absorbed into that. And then like
Mm.
um a spider doesn't just cocoon its the fly right away. It takes time. First
Mm.
it's stuck, and then
Mm.
it just slowly, and that light um web might not feel like bondage at first until the
Mm.
constriction starts to take place. And so it's also important to not only know our emotions, know the energy that we're having, but also know that when we go into groups or we go into be with other
Mm.
people, to be
Mm.
aware that their energy is also in play with ours. And so
Mm.
being conscious of that. When we drove
Mm.
through, we just got done with this road trip, and I drove through state of Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. And I can tell you all four of those states had different energy. Immediately
Mhm.
when I entered the boundary,
Mhm.
the energies were different of the states. And I
Mm.
thought, how fascinating, because visually it all looked the same. You drive through the country and there's farms, and we go into this one gas station and the guy has an open carry. He has a firearm on his side. And he has a cowboy hat, and
Mhm.
he's an old time cowboy. I mean, that's his
Mhm.
reality. And I go to another place and someone looks similar, but the energy in that realm or that
Mhm.
state completely different. And I thought,
Mm.
wow, if I wasn't aware of energy and like tapping into like how does this place feel, but I
Mhm.
looked at it all on the visual plane of, oh, they
Mhm.
look the same. He wears a cowboy hat. He wears a cowboy hat. He's farming
Mhm.
this land. They're farming this land, but they're not the same. One was a
Mhm.
freer place. One was a more dense, heavy
Mhm.
place.
Mhm. Yeah, what you're describing is the energy of the belief systems, the building blocks that I was talking about. You're actually describing them because if you're sensitive to it, if you know who you are, you know your own frequency, and you can feel the differences in the outside world and the frequencies there, you can literally tap into the belief systems that are creating the
Yes.
different worlds. Even
Yes.
if it's, I mean, it's the same country. There is no real border between it,
Right.
but there
Right.
is a difference in what you believe in and not believe in.
Yes.
So this is actually a proof of that the belief systems are the building blocks of our reality, not buildings and roads and stuff.
Mhm.
It's the belief systems and how we treat each other through these belief
Yes.
systems that either create freedom or stagnation. And you can sense that. You can literally sense it. It's a vibration. Your
Yes.
body feels it. As the first manifestation, you can feel it as a vibration in the air.
Mm.
Everything that you know about them also, of course, will be a part of that belief system, and you can sense it. So
Yeah.
it's a question of trusting your sensors. In my book, I actually write about this, that our five senses are just a secondary thing. Our first sensor is actually to feel the energy and to
Yes.
decode the energy. So it's not with our eyes, it's not with our senses, it's something else. It's beyond time and space. We're actually tapping into each other's energy. But if
Mhm.
we're focused on the five senses, we kind of shut that part down a
Yes.
bit,
Yes.
and we trust more the five senses than the intuition that it actually is connected to, the vibration that we feel on the outside, and the intuition here that tells us that this is the vibration that I'm feeling.
Right.
It's like walking into a room and you will feel the tension in a room. If two people have been fighting in a room, you can
Right.
sense it.
Right.
That is our primary sense, not the, eyes and ears and that. It's the ability to tap into the frequency, to decode the frequency. That is our first sense.
And trust that over everything, because
Yes. Yes.
if we don't trust that, if we walk into that
Mm.
room and we feel
Yeah.
that there was tension, but then we say, are
Yes.
you guys okay? And they say, oh, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe what they say versus
Mm-hmm.
your sense, then you have allowed yourself to be gaslit, and a little bit of your sovereignty just went away.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happens over time. That's what narcissists are so good at. I was
Mm-hmm.
driving yesterday. I drove 8 hours, and my dad used to ask me, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? And I think, God, that had what a sick thing to ask. And if you ask someone what they're thinking about constantly, then you can control them
Mm-hmm.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a question ever since I can remember, that I was always asked, and I'd give an answer. And horrible things happened in my life because due to that relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
yet this gets back to thought and like what you're talking about. If I can put a thought in your mind, if you can sense that something's off, but then everyone says it's not off, and you're like, oh, it's not off, and you either at that moment trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or you give into that person's power structure. Because the minute we
Mm-hmm.
submit, the minute we bounty, maybe the minute we say, oh, maybe I was wrong, they must be
Mm-hmm.
right, they will take that to the fullest extent. And this is why I don't understand humans, or truly their blind submission to politicians, because the politician would never do the blind submission to pick out any random person in the street. If the random person in the street said, do this, the politician would like, get out of town. What are you talking about? So I don't understand this, but at the same time, I do understand how it works, because humanity has been told not to listen to their own energetic vibration, not to listen to themselves, not to trust themselves, not to check in with their emotions, not to feel their heart, not to go beyond the five senses, because they say, oh, everything's okay. No, that's not real. And we're constantly just bombarded to the energy becomes so stagnant, people choose out and they're so afraid, like, this something doesn't feel right, so I'll put my ego out and I'll protect what little sense I have left, or I'll just rip it off and be like, you want to dance? Let's dance. I said to a friend the other day, the first Batman movie that came out with Michael Keaton as Batman, the Joker who played with Nicholson said, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I love that. Like, oh, you want to dance? Let's dance. Let's go. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying, because it becomes a habitual non-trust in yourself.
Right.
And that creates a frequency within you that says, I'm never right. I can't trust myself. I don't know how to interpret this. This might be wrong. And you're always in some kind of doubt. And that creates a feeling of wanting to be led by someone else because you cannot lead yourself. And this is why we seek leaders in politicians and other authorities outside of ourselves. And that is how we give away that power. And it's a question of understanding yourself, trusting yourself, not being in a fearful mode all the time, so that you will get to know this intuition, to get to know who you are and understand your own feelings and what you're allowing into this world without outsourcing it, without putting it out there and saying, I need someone to lead me because I don't know who I am.
Right.
Well, they will not lead you to who you are. You need to lead yourself to who you are by becoming more friends with your own emotions and your emotional states, and trusting your ability to perceive this world in the right light.
Right. Right.
So I understand why you feel the anger and you say, you want to dance with me.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but at the same time, it's a question of standing in the light, in your own light, not allowing your heart to become hard, standing in this vulnerability and trusting that what you see is the truth for you. And you usually say this, if it doesn't allow you to breathe, then it's not true. It's an illusion. So pull back, look at it, try to find the brightest side of it and find back to the light within you. Otherwise, why would you be here otherwise?
That's right.
You're here to explore the fearless soul that you are. We're all born fearless. Every child is fearless. This is why we need to watch them, because they do not understand danger. They do not understand fear. So we teach them this.
Yeah.
We are born fearless. We are born curious, and we are joyous, and we are fearless. Like small scientists trying everything because we don't understand.
Right.
That's our true nature, every single one of us. What differs us is the desires of the things that we want to explore, but we are here to explore them. So you might want to explore something, I might want to explore something else, but both of us will try to explore it fearlessly and with curiosity and with joy, if we are aligned to who we were born to be here. But if we have allowed society to teach us where we need to be safe, where we need to fear, where we need to tap into the illusion, then we will not explore it fearlessly, and it will become stagnated, and it will give us pain and emotional stagnation. So it's a question of remembering that you're a fearless soul having a human experience. Courageousness is who we are. We are courageous because, and let's get back to Braveheart, because there is one line that made my entire evening yesterday while I was watching it. And he says, I want to have a wife and children, and I want to grow crops, but it's all for nothing if you don't have freedom. And to have freedom means to know who you are.
That's right.
You're a fearless soul born free. Each and every one of us are. That's our true nature. So if we remember that, that's how we get back to the light when we feel the pain because we're too much in the darkness. And it's okay to be in the darkness. We're supposed to explore it. We can't explore it where we are, where we come from. So exploring it is one thing, but believing that that is the only truth, that's where the stagnation is. That's where the pain comes in. That's where the heart becomes hard.
Yes. Yes.
So just remembering this and saying, okay, I'm exploring fear right now. Okay, I'm exploring stagnation right now. Or okay, I'm in grief, but keep moving because everything is energy and it moves anyway. So keep moving with that energy. Go through it and learn something about yourself. Don't stay in it. If you're in hell, don't stop. That's what they
that's
say.
right. Keep going. Yeah. Winston
Keep
Churchill said, if you're going
going.
through hell, keep going. Yeah.
Keep going.
Right.
Yeah. That's
As we close in and wrap it here, like I said, I drove 8 hours yesterday and I saw a lot of country. I saw a lot of land, and I was struck by, we cross a bridge and it will say something river or something creek. And there was this one river that goes from Wyoming all the way to Washington State. It's a long river. It's called the Snake River. And it flows. And the whole time you're like, there's a lot of water. It's volumes of water just moving, and it moves at a rapid speed. But we cross over another or drive along the road to these other rivers that move so slow, and debris and sediment was in it, and it looked dirty. It was still flowing, but not like that Snake River, just vitality. You could feel that water was just alive. And then we would drive by these other places in farmland where the water was more pond and just dirty. It didn't look the same. And I think each of us can choose which water stream, which energy force, which emotional state we want to be in. The Snake River, which is clean and constantly moving and is not stopping, or we can move a little and that river will collect sediment, but you're still moving. It's not yet dead. Or the stagnated water where not even the animals want to drink. And it was such a visual representation of the choice we have and free will that we have. Yeah, the Snake River is a little bit more scary because you're going down and it's moving fast and there's rocks and there's how exciting.
Yes.
How exciting. Yeah.
Look at it this way. If you allow yourself to go with that flow, it will always take you to your source. The river will always take you to its source. And that's what it is about. Of course, it might be scary sometimes. It might be really fast sometimes. Sometimes it's slower and it's nice and you can look at the scenery. But that is how the river of time is. That is how the river of life works. And it will always take you to your source. It's not about going with everybody's flow, because you are the river. You're one river. And you have to go with your flow and allow it to be in motion all the time, because it will always, always, always take you to your source. It can never take you anywhere else unless you choose to stagnate and stay. Because that won't take you to your source. It will stay and stagnate and turn into fear and pain. So moving on, that's what we're doing. Moving on in this energy.
Love it. I love it. Oh, it's so good. It's so good to be back with you. Another set. And I have to say, today is July 25th, and you and I are wearing red and green like Christmas. So it's summertime Christmas today. Preparation for December 25th. We look good.
Exactly.
Always coordinated.
Exactly. Always coordinated. In one way or the other, always coordinated.
That's right.
I so enjoyed this talk, and I think that to understand emotions and
it's okay. Sounds good. I can hear you.
To understand that emotions are the first manifestation in the physical world, and to understand that we stand in the doorway because it's about a thought and emotion becoming a physical thing in your body and then becoming a belief system that is manifested in physical reality. So if you don't take anything else from this Sunday Live, this is what you need to take with you to understand where you stand in this power structure.
That's right.
to understand that you don't have to give emotion to every thought that is presented to you, or every belief that is presented to you from the outside world.
That's right.
You have to remember who you are, that you are a fearless soul here to explore how it feels to have a physical body, with everything that is connected to that. And just go with that flow.
Yes. It's beautiful.
That's
it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone for
you.
watching. And we will see you next Sunday as we resume and pick back up our weekly lives.
Yes.
Awesome.
See you everyone next
Bye, guys.
Sunday.